We're going to go ahead and get this thing started and welcome everybody to the 2024 Mayoral Candidate Forum. Weston County Republican Party has put this all together and organized it, and they asked me, my name is Holly Horton, for anybody who doesn't know who I am. I'm going to be the moderator tonight. It seems like a kind of severe word, but we'll go with it, I guess. A couple things that we want to go over before we get started, but first we need to open this with prayer. Pastor McBone is going to lead us in that.
Let's stand and bow before the Lord tonight. Father, we humble ourselves right now in your presence. God, we know that you always have a plan. Sometimes, Lord, we just don't know where it's going or how it's to be directed, but we trust tonight as we go through this forum that questions will be asked that really matter and mean something to the city of Newcastle and those who are running for office. God, we thank you that they're willing to step up and do their part. So, Lord, we trust that you would lead and guide the citizens of this community to select the right person to continue to lead this or to have a change, whatever your will might be. That, Lord God, we would see your hand continuing to work here and bless this community, Lord. We desire to have a place where people are coming into and desiring to stay and build a great community. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so in an effort basically to save time, we are going to not be taking live questions from the floor. We have some questions that have been previously turned in. We've also got index cards on each table. If you have a question, please write that down. You just want to hold the card up. Miss Carrie will be around to gather that up. Carrie Drost, head of our Weston County Republican Party. She works very hard. Thank her for that. Otherwise, you can do follow-up questions, same thing, just write those on your cards and hold them up and we'll come around and get them. We're going to do 3 minutes for opening statements. We're going to do 2 minutes for question rebuttal, so if you have, we'll answer really. We have a timer, Stan the man here is going to be doing our timing, so we'll give you a 15-second warning and then the stop. And we just turn your mic off. I'm kidding, we don't. I should though, Tom, I should. So I want to say welcome to Pam Gualtieri, our current mayor, Tyrell Owens, Ed Kiesling, did I say that right, Ed? Sort of. And Tom Voss. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Darren Downs could not make it to join us. So if anybody has questions or anything, please just get a hold of Carrie there and she'll help you out. But we'll go ahead and get started. Tom, would you like to begin with our opening statements?
Yes, I would. Oh, it came through. Good. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. I think it's wonderful that we have a great turnout tonight. I was kind of wondering if anybody showed up at all, but that's okay. I'm glad you're all here. And I feel kind of blessed this year. The city and the population of the city must think that I'm doing such an excellent job on the city council that no one chose to challenge me in my seat. But I still am here, and I want to answer your questions, and I want to be here for you. And that's my opening statement. Thank you.
I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad to see this kind of a crowd here. Last time I ran we didn't do all this. I was just telling Pam that. And I think it's great that, you know, we can do this. And people working together is very important to me. And I hope we can continue it. And, you know, we'll find out. And I think it's great to see everyone here, and especially all the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Is this thing on? Yeah. All right, thanks for being here, everyone. Tyrell Owens, Newcastle City Council. I've been on the council for 3 years and 7 months. I'm looking forward to the race to see who gets selected to be our mayor in the primaries. I've worked for the city shop for 9 years. I got written in to get my seat on the city council. Won my spot in the general election. Because like I was telling some folks around here, I said when I was in the ditch, you know, at 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to work on a water main break, that if I was on the council, that I wouldn't be doing that, you know. So anyway, I really appreciate everybody being here. A little bit nervous because it's like a job interview, you know. So hopefully I can answer your questions well tonight. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Tyrell.
Make sure everybody hold the mic way up close to you. Thank you.
Just like this?
Just like
All right. Well, first I'd like to thank the Republican Party for hosting this. It gives us a chance to meet all of you, and thank you guys for attending. My name is Pam Gualtieri, for those who do not know me. I moved to Newcastle in 2008. Came for law enforcement, and now I have a couple businesses in our county, and I'm very proud owner of them, and I'm looking to look forward on economic development for our community, the infrastructure. We've been doing great work as the council for the last 4 years and 2 years prior to that as mayor. I just see our town growing and the possibilities and things that are coming this way. In the 4 years, I learned a lot about how our infrastructure works, how economics works, how grants work, and you know, those tools are necessary, especially for our department heads. So making sure they're getting those trainings, just everything that we can do to make our community bigger, better, and work as a whole with our whole county. So thank you.
Thank you, Pam. We're going to go ahead and get started. Our first question, which is for the entire panel tonight. Why are you running for mayor/city council? What qualifications and experience do you have for this job? Tom, you want to go ahead and start?
Well, I want to run because I like the job. I like being on city council, and I like doing the work, and I like meeting with the people, and it's just something that I just like. And my experience, I think my age. I'm the oldest person on the city council, but I always tell them I have the youngest ideas. And I think that my experience has been on the city council, of course, and I've been chairman and or president of many local organizations, and I have been here a long time. Well, from the Fountain Inn, I was there for 23 years, and running the hospitality industry. I've been in the oil and gas industry, and basically I have a lot of experience, and I have offered that to my city and the city council, and that's why I'm running for office. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll just move right on down the line. Ed?
Well, one of the reasons I guess I'm here tonight, people asked me to run. I talked to Pam last time when it was election time, and I told her I denied running. People wanted me to run last time, and I said no. So this time, you know, I'm running, I'm here, I'm glad to be here. I appreciate being here, but you know, it wasn't just a wild thought of mine. You know, some of the people asked me to run, so I thought maybe I better do it. I spent 10 years with the city in the past. I served under four mayors, but the one was not really a mayor, so I served under Lewis Carlson for the first time. I served under Mr. Nelson, and the last one, he was kind of an interim one. He wasn't there really long, and that was, who was it?
It wasn't there very long, I don't know.
Huh? Anyway, so I served 4 times, and elected 4 times. And so 4 years council, 2 years council, and then 4 times the mayor. Anyway, we got a lot of things done last time, and I guess, I can remember when I first started the job, I think it was the second day after I took office, Pete Fields said, "We're closing the sawmill down." And I went, "Oh." And, I was 75 jobs right in town. And, but, we survived that. I'm about out of time, the paddle man's waving at me. Anyway, we tried to start a pellet mill here in town, and we were just about to get it going, and then that didn't happen. Anyway, I better shut it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, I would like to run for the position of mayor because I enjoy serving the public. I've enjoyed my time on the city council, sometimes a little bit more than others. But I feel uniquely qualified to be in the position of mayor because I worked for the city shop for 9 years and I saw the state of our infrastructure in our town. I did every job at the city. I ran the garbage truck. I worked on the water and wastewater. I worked out at the lagoons. I did a little bit of everything, which a lot of small communities have to. And so that's one thing I'd like to see improved and one thing that I think qualifies me to run for the position. And I work for a 501c3 nonprofit, Midwest Assistance Program. We work with small communities to address infrastructure needs and compliance issues and to train water and wastewater operators. That's what I kind of feel would make me qualified to run for mayor. And I want to see our town continue to flourish and improve. I want to see us engage in community economic development. I want to see more programs for kids. I just really enjoy our community and I'm raising my children here, so I want to see them have opportunities as they continue to grow in the school system here. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
6 years ago, I ran for city council, and it was because I was always told if you're going to complain or you're unhappy or anything that's negative, then you should be positive to do something. So that is when I got ran to be on city council. I invest in this town, I live in this town, I love this town. And I just wanted to see everything possibly done that can be done in this town. And being the mayor, now I take a lot of pride in that. I think we, because it's us and it's a mayor and a council, we work really hard on trying to make that happen. I know it doesn't seem like it. We're dealing with issues from our forefathers that have not been able to get stuff done. We got 90-year-old sewer lines, water lines. So being able to get the tools needed and the education needed and to our department heads to get the grants and the things that are needed to get done is very important. So just getting educated and still being able to learn and wanting to learn is probably one of the best qualities a mayor or a council member can have. And I know I love to learn, I love to do, and if it's something that's brought to me, I will do my best to make sure that it's done, or at least the effort is there for our people in our community. So that's why I'm running again.
Thank you, ma'am.
I don't want to see what we have started stop or die down. We have really made an effort going forward with a lot of the projects that we have currently done. Just finishing up 7th Avenue is one of them, getting ready to move on to Dove. So things are happening. So if you have a great council right now, we don't want to lose it.
Thank you. I do want to just repeat, guys, I know we had a couple of people come in after I had announced it, but we are taking written questions only tonight. There are index cards on each table. Bob doesn't get any because he's chosen to, be antisocial. Just kidding. But if you guys do have questions, please write them on your index cards, hold them up. Miss Carrie will be around to pick them up, and they'll bring them up to me. So, thank you guys. That question was, why are you running? This is a little bit similar, but in your opinion, what are the 3 most important duties of the mayor that you are running to be elected for? Pam, go ahead.
I think 3 important things is obviously, one is your infrastructure, your economic development, your community. That's one. Another is knowing your community. It's very important to know your community and who you're working for. You have all different age groups, all different incomes in the homes, and things that we deal with as a mayor affect both ends of that there. Also, the other thing is transparency. We started using social media to let you know what our city crew is doing. Our police department started using FaceTime to let you know what's happening. Because a lot of the things that when I first started was, what are they doing? I don't see them doing anything. They're only driving around. I can tell you that they work. They work hard, and they work for you, and so do I.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think number 1 is to serve the people of the community. We're called public servants for a reason. So I wish that our council meetings had as many people in the council chambers as what we have present tonight, because stakeholder buy-in is huge for our position. So, having a community that's there, that's engaged, that lets us know what we need to work on and why we need to work on it, so that the mayor can relay that to the council. And so point 2 would be teamwork. I think teamwork is very important in our role. I think that as mayor, I would provide reports at every council meeting, so everybody knew who I was talking to and what we were talking about, and I would ask the council their opinion and try to get them involved, because it's a team sport. It's something that we need to work at. And then point 3 is you can't have a community without water and wastewater and solid waste. So to continue to build on our infrastructure, we have pipes in our system that have been in the ground, 50 years. They have a lifespan of 50 years. 50% of our distribution system in this community is concrete asbestos pipe. The 7th Avenue project that the mayor referenced, I was in that street 3 or 4 times on water breaks because the infrastructure needs to be replaced. So that was huge for me on the council, because I got to make a motion to fund that project, or to go after that funding. And it was something that plagued me as an operator in this system. But I guess my time's done. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I'm trying to run, I like to get stuff done. And what streets in this town is one of my priorities. The streets, some of the conditions around town, we're living in a dust bowl. And, I can go into that later, I guess. I don't want to do it here. I don't like it. I go out and wash my vehicle. and by morning, you can't even tell I washed it. And we gotta change that. We gotta get some of this potholes repaired. And, you know, potholes, to me, will tear up your outfit. I'm talking about, you know, we've got city vehicles here, we have a lot of city employees, we've got fire department, you know, we don't want this stuff torn up. And every time somebody hits a pothole, you know, it's gonna ruin your front end, your tires, and look at the price of vehicles today. One thing I would like to do is, and I think this town needs it, I don't believe in electric cars myself, but I don't think there's a place in town that we can have, let's say you bought an electric car today, the man here with the signs, where are you gonna charge it? You gotta go somewhere else to charge it. I think that's a disgrace. Also, my son bought a vehicle here a while back, several years back, and it says it takes this E85, okay? Do we have a place in town you can buy straight E85? I don't think so. We should have. You know, this isn't medieval times, this is new times. We need to move forward, and I hope we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
I'm not running for mayor, but I'll talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that you said that the mayor candidates, but no, I'll talk. I think one of the most important things that we need to do as a city, as a community, is something that's called community capacity development. And what that means is to start some resources and look at our resources and basically start a community-wide effort to bring a lot of people together to do things like the economic development, to do things like, well, we have a wonderful idea for a park to go right out here by the four-way stop, and I believe that would be a source of economic development just because it would be beautiful and it would stop a lot of people. And we don't have the capacity to build it. And what we've learned is that we've got a couple of people in town that are really interested in going out and raising money and getting the funding and the grant work done. But I think that if we did a better development of our inner capacities, and that means manpower, that means other resources like water, we've got the area that used to be Cambria Forest Products sitting out there that has a wonderful sidetrack to it. And the Nyman brothers used to load chips there, but like Mayor Kiesling was saying, former Mayor Kiesling was saying that whole area could be something developed for us, you know, and it's reasonable to think that we could do something with wood, because we have lots of wood around here. It's unreasonable to think that we're going to build a big production program and start making chips with computers. That's probably not going to happen in Newcastle. But I have 15 seconds left. But anyway, community capacity development is the number one thing that we can do to bring our community together, to stop the strifes, to stop the arguments, I have to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. My apologies, you were right, I shouldn't have forced you to speak.
Oh, that's okay.
I know how much you hate speaking. This one would be for all candidates. What characteristics are crucial to have as an elected official, and how do you feel you demonstrate those specific characteristics? Tom, you should have just stayed standing.
Well, I think one of the main things that you have to have is an education. And I think that if you have an education, that means both experience, educated-wise, and you know, book-wise too. I think that you have to have an ability to speak publicly. You have to be able to stand up and communicate with the people. And I think that that's an important thing as a politician, or I don't really like that word, but that's what we are, I guess. And that's basically what I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir.
Too many drilling rigs. I left my hair at home.
Oh,
sorry about that.
No worries. What characteristics are crucial to have as an elected official, and how do you feel you demonstrate those characteristics?
Well, you know, the council the mayor has a job to do. And, you know, you gotta have a leader, so they tell me, and that's, you know, always been one of my theories, okay? But you gotta have a council that works with you. And if you don't have a council that works with you, I think you're in big trouble, you know. Also, you know, if we can get, like, we have some firemen here tonight. One of my goals would be to get the best fire department ever and the best police department ever. But I'd also like to throw in, I don't know if there's any county commissioners here, but, you know, I used to meet with the county commissioners probably once a month. And at that time, when I started, we had 3. Now we have more than that. But anyway, you know, I think that's important. We didn't get paid for it, and I don't think they did. But I would like to start meeting with the county commissioners and try to get something workable going again, you know, like we used to. But anyway, that's some of my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, so I think that some of the traits that are the most important to be an elected official or to serve our community is honesty, integrity, and transparency. You know, going before the public, letting them know what's going on, going to the council, good communication. Communication is the cornerstone for anything. Without good communication, everything breaks down. So being able to communicate the message to the public and also being able to communicate to the council, you know, what the task at hand is. And then, you know, they say great minds think alike, so I'm going with Mr. Kiesling here. Quarterly meetings, I wasn't as ambitious as Mr. Kiesling with the monthly meetings, but I wanted to meet with, or form a better relationship with the Board of the County Commissioners. I want us to do at least quarterly meetings so that everybody knows what the other entity is working on, and then maybe we could even pool resources and be able to help each other. Because I think that would be huge in our community if the two entities had a good working relationship. So yes, integrity, honesty, transparency, and good communication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I agree with all 3 of them. Every single thing they said is definitely a vital for a mayor or anyone on a council or a board, no matter what kind of board or council it is. Another thing that's very important is being a good listener. Listen to what is needed, what is wanted, and how it's done. If you don't know, learn. Find the answers, find the person that knows. I don't know everything. I couldn't tell you it all. That's why we have great resources and great people working for us that we could go and speak with and head our departments and ask them and be able to communicate that back to those who have asked. So every single thing that they said, the communication, working together, integrity, honesty, but being able to listen and educate and not be afraid to learn is probably the most important things that you need for any position on the board or the council.
Thank you, Pam. Sorry. Next question. What do you think explains the empty seat for the 2024 City Council election? And this they'd like answered by all candidates, including Tom. Pam, if you want to go ahead and get us started.
The empty seat for council, well, the empty seat is because he's running for mayor. Ty Owens is put in his name in the hat to run for mayor. So that seat is open. There will be a line on the ballot, so if you know someone that would be interested or really good at being a member of the council, they can get written in. I would love to speak to anybody who may be interested in that.
Thank you.
I agree with the mayor. I couldn't run for both, so I felt like it was necessary for me to throw my hat in the ring to run for mayor. But again, it's with the stakeholder buy-in and trying to get the community involved, which is like pulling teeth sometimes. We needed some people to maybe step up and try to get this open seat. So I regardless of who ends up being elected mayor, we will have that seat to fill, depending on how many write-ins we have, and that'll need to be appointed. So yeah, I think that getting the community more involved. I actually see some people in here tonight that have been at a lot of the city council meetings, and I thought for sure that they were going to throw their hat in the ring, but I guess they didn't. So, but yeah, engaging with the community and trying to make it fun, because sometimes it's not very fun. It's hard to serve the public, but it's very rewarding too. I thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Ed?
Yeah, what I'd like to see is more community involvement. I'd like to see people, more citizens with input. I'd like to hear, if I'm the mayor, I would like to hear the pros, the cons, you know, the mayor sitting at the middle of the thing up there and the councilman, and we don't know what's on you people's minds, and we gotta know. And you can't, I don't think you can have 6 people run the town, you know. We gotta have everybody run it. This isn't my town, this is your town, and we'd like to keep it that way. I'd also like to comment on, recently we lost 2 businesses, Hanson Equipment and the Lumberyard. And, you know, this is pretty sad. And, you know, when I was a mayor years ago, we had Salt Creek Freightways here. Some of you people may not have been here that long. I tried to get the council to do something. I worked in a radiator shop here in town for 12 years. I used to get a lot of my freight on Continental Trailways, and that's up at the Grand's Motor Hotel. It used to be uptown, across from the old mill. They shut that down. I tried to get people at that time, I'm sorry to say this, at the council to do something. Nobody would do nothing. We lost 2 entities right there. We can't continue to lose business. We've got empty buildings out of town. You know, we got to do something different. And I think, here comes my hearing aids. Thank you. But anyway, you know, we got to try to improve and we got to move forward, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't the question why there's an empty seat?
Yeah, I think maybe to summarize, yeah, why is there an empty seat, but why do people not want to serve on the council?
I think that a lot of people are just plain afraid. They don't understand it. They think maybe it's beyond them. And there are a lot of details beyond the city council. But you get them. And you know, by your second year, your first year, you're just kind of learning and getting involved. But I think that sometimes the way we advertise and we put things out there isn't enough. I don't know how we got involved in the social media now. I hate that word. Anyway, I'm a newspaper man myself.
How about toxic? You like that word, Tom? It's toxic,
yeah.
social media.
But anyway, social media, you reach out there and you try to get people to do things, and we like that. And we put it in the paper, but I just don't think that it splashed. I think that people ought to jump at the chance to be on the city council and let your voices be heard. And anyway, it didn't happen. And as we look at our entire society, we're looking at people that are pulling back. We're looking at a situation where, we've got a lot of people between the ages of 19 and 45 that just don't get involved. We put open, like for instance, play, get people to audition for a play. That's the hardest thing in the world to get done. And we've been putting on plays now for many, many years, and every time we do it, we have to go out and almost beg people. But it's fun. Theater is a great time. But I'd like 15 seconds. Okay, The reason is that people are not getting involved, and that's why I believe in community capacity development and getting people involved and getting the, anyway, stop.
Thank you, Tom. What is our community's biggest area of need, and how do you plan to address that need? That's a big question. We're going to direct that to the mayoral candidates. Yeah, Pam, please.
Well, geez, there's many needs, but the biggest one that I think that we are struggling with right now is our water and sewer. It's bad. I mean, we're talking decades and decades of neglect. We do have a 10-year plan that our city crew supervisor has been working on with one of our committees and working with the council as well. But we do have a plan. That doesn't mean there'll be a hiccup and something's got to move up the list that was maybe planned for 2028, you know, so that's one of our biggest things right now is that, and with that, obviously, is money. So unfortunately, our whole world is like this, not just little Newcastle, Wyoming, but everything costs more. And so a lot of the grants that we go for require a mill levy, which means taxes if the voters vote for it. So there's so much that we as a council have to work really diligently on to make sure that we're making the right decisions because it costs. And where does that money come from? It comes from you guys. So the 10-year plan is great. The resources that we're sending our city crew supervisor to these educations and these trainings and working very closely with Mark, the city crew supervisor over in Upton, has been so helpful in finding this. We just got a $1 million grant. So we have some money that's more than half of what's needed for one project. So we got over $40 million worth of projects when it comes to our sewer and water, and so that's our biggest headache right now.
Thank you, Pam.
I would agree with the mayor, but I also think that the biggest complaint that I hear from our citizens is our streets. I used to work on the patching crew and try to glue the streets back together. They've been neglected for a really long time. So that was one of the things that I found most rewarding sitting on the city council was making the motion that we reinstitute the chip and seal program. So rehabbing our roads, trying to do the best we can with what we got. We have some items that we got for the city to recycle the asphalt. There's different ideas about how we can rehab some of these roads. But underneath the roads, on the flip side, is all the water and sewer. I was engulfed in a manhole one time down below Mondale Heights because it's an old native stone manhole, and people chronically plug up with roots around town. So water, wastewater, and roads are a huge deal for us. But then also community economic development and and also another word that I kind of liked and I found some programs for recently is ag development. Because we live in a ranching community and there's some services that we could bring to our community that might be geared more towards supporting ranchers as well. So, and they could possibly bring jobs. So there's a lot of ideas out there, but those are some of the things that I think that we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrell. Ed?
Well, like I said a little bit ago, we
need to turn that mic on, Ed.
What's that?
Is your mic off?
I hope.
Is there a red light on?
No red light.
Battery.
Now we got one.
Oh, battery's dead. Can we share the other one?
They're coming through,
No,
yeah.
now it's working.
Anyway. I don't remember where I was now. Anyway, what we need to do is try to improve everything. And I think I can do that, but I can't stand up here and say, I'll guarantee, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. I'll try my damnedest, but that's all I can do. And I'm being honest with you people, and I think that's very important. and I was always honest when I served 10 years with this city before. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
You don't have to turn the mics on and off, so just leave them on.
Yeah, it should be all right. The next group of questions all focus primarily on finance, so we're gonna leave that just for the mayor candidates as well. Let's start with, what are some ways the city can save money but still improve services? Ed, do you wanna take the lead on that one? Ed, would you like to answer that one?
You want to know how we can save money?
And still improve services?
Well, I think we need to.
Yeah, do it again.
There you go, Ed.
Stanley, it's your fault.
I think one of the things we need to do is look at the water rates. You know, if you look around town, nobody's watering their lawns, you know, and I think our water is overpriced. I'll give you an example on that. Worked in an oil field most of my life. And, you know, I worked in 5 states, okay? Been around the block a time or two. If we had a flowing well, and we had several of them, I worked on a lot of them, and, you know, if we had a flowing well, we didn't stick a pump in it. And I don't understand some of this stuff that the city's using now for pumping water and, you know, and I'll give you another example. Years ago, we had a pump over there by the city shop, and we had a mechanic over there that kept kind of tabs on it for me. And he said at that time it was costing $85 an hour power and light to send it up to the tank. And I said, you know what we can do? I said, I got a friend that's got 6-inch pipeline, aluminum, and I said, what we can do is pipe it from the Goodwill back of the city shop, pipe it right up to the water tank, and it won't cost us a dime. And the guy had the pipe ready and was gonna let me use it for free. He wouldn't sell it to me. And he's dead now, so I guess I can talk about him. But anyway, that never happened. But that's one of the ways we can save money, okay? And that would save a lot. And 85 bucks an hour in a dry day like today, you know, would save a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Go on the other way.
I don't get to talk.
You didn't get to talk.
Thank you, everybody. My work takes me all over the entire state. Oh, can everybody hear me fine?
Put it right up to you.
I travel the whole state for work. Money is always an issue in every community. And Weston County makes it into the top 3 for the poorest counties in the entire state of Wyoming. We're a bedroom community for the mine. We don't have a lot of resources here. We only have 2 incorporated towns, and then Osage, the unincorporated town. So we don't have a huge base to draw money from. One of the ways to address the issue within the city limits is our sewer and water rates and our solid waste rates. I'm on the water and sewer committee. The rates are always a contentious thing, and it's always a contentious thing for every community. But costs continue to rise. We have failing infrastructure due to decades of people not planning ahead. So we need to design a rate, and it's painful sometimes, that allows us for some emergency funding, and also allows us to have some funding to address the issues and fix the problems. Because a lot of the grants and stuff that we apply for have a match at the state level, and we have to provide that match. So I mean, it's not great, but it's a necessary evil. So yes, building a good water, sewer, and solid waste, which we did a study with the city, and then we'll give it to me.
Thank you, Tyrell.
Okay, so you have that 33% rule here when you're talking about, fixing the budget to where we're able to improve services. So 33% of the people are going to be happy, 33% are going to be unhappy, and then you have 33% that don't even know what's going on. But a lot of the things that I've been learning was that we have, our city crew was constantly renting equipment, and because we had equipment failing. So you have to spend a little to hopefully save a little. So by getting the new equipment and having, a plan down the road on what's going to be getting in place is going to help us. Unfortunately, when it comes to water and sewer, it does have to raise. But I think that's where we need to know our community. We have a lot of people that live on a fixed income, and we need to do it in stages so they don't have to choose between medication and water. So it's very hard for us. We definitely work very hard to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to make sure that we're doing things right for both sides. One of the big things is we have a lot of entities that get money from the city. So holding them accountable and knowing what they're doing with the funds that they're receiving is something else that I think is very important. And hopefully keeping them accountable by giving us reports and how they're using that money, because those are probably the places that would get cut first if we had to make some major cuts. But it's definitely the hardest thing for the council to do. But we do try to make sure we're doing everything right for both the public and for the city.
Go ahead and stay standing there, Pam. How high on your list is the importance of economical development? And this is for all three mayor candidates.
Geez, economic development is pretty important, but there's some things that would probably take priority. We have a lot of things that are happening in our town now. And there's a lot of homes in our area that we could focus on. We have empty buildings that can be refurbished, and a business can start there. I think we need to look at what we have now and what is fixable before we try to work with trying to bring other things in. I mean, bringing them in is great, but already having a place for them to be and occupy. So I think refurbishing what we have and encouraging and finding ways to help those individuals refurbish those buildings, because they're not owned by the city.
Thank you, Pam.
I think that community economic development should be a high on our priority list. I believe that if we, and along with I'm going to throw out the ag development as well, because we already have ranchers that exist in our community. So the community economic development is important, because if we get more people to come into town, they buy properties, or maybe they buy what we have already and then refurbish it. Some of the properties that are vacant right now are kind of being sold for bottom dollar, maybe. So maybe if we could get those turned over and get somebody in it, maybe they'll fix it up. Anytime you're getting more people to the community, you're gonna prosper. You're gonna get a bigger tax base. You're gonna get more people using utilities, and then your community is gonna prosper. And then one of the things that I think that we need to do is continue to develop our events. We used to have like sagebrush days and all of these different events in our community that used to attract people to our community and get them in here spending money. But then again, with the stakeholder buy-in, we don't have people that are willing to give up their time. We're getting more now, which we have the Choke Cherry Festival coming up, which I think is going to be great. So was that August 16th, the Choke Cherry Festival? We'd love to see you all there. So thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
I was hoping somebody would bring that up. Years ago, I can't remember if I was with the city at that time or not, we've had, I don't know how many people come to town here and gonna whip the world, in my opinion. Economic development, I'll give you an example. One of them, I can't remember the gentleman's name, you know, he was a nice fella, I knew him, I met him, I tried to work with him, but, you know, they wouldn't do much with me. And in regard to that, the reason he wouldn't kind of deal with me, or listen to me, I'm not a know-it-all, don't get me wrong, but I sold the first property out of town here on the west to this propane outfit. That was the industrial park for the city of Newcastle. That was the first thing that went out there. I sold that. I didn't make a dime, you know, I'm making $250 a month being the mayor. But anyway, that was kind of a start. I did go to real estate school in my time, but anyway, getting back to the economic development, one particular entity, excuse me, I looked into it pretty good. We had some local people on the board, which was very good. Won't mention any names, but I could. And I said, what are we doing? Well, we're working on it. They spent $44,000 the last time I checked on it, you know, and I said, what are you guys doing? You know, and one of them went to California on a trip, you know, one of the economic people. And I thought I'd kind of like to go there too, you know, in the winter especially. But anyway, so what happened was, I said, you know, for $44,000, I'm being flagged down here, I could build a ramp over the railroad track, and we wouldn't have all this mess for the trains. And I said, I think we could do that, and we could get some loans on it. Now think about that, says stuff.
Ed, go ahead and keep that microphone. In relation to that question, do you support state or federal spending as a means of promoting economic development? And that is for all mayor candidates.
Well, that's a good question. But, you know, money has to come from somewhere. And, you know, I don't know where we're gonna get it, you know, and if you look around now, I don't want to tell you people to watch the news, because I still got my hair and I served 10 years in the city. But think about that. You know, I'm thinking that, you know, I'll give you an example. One year, a kid drove his car down on the railroad track, okay? And he bounced it, and he tore his oil pan up. And you know, I was young once too. So they said, what are you gonna do about it? I called the railroad, I called the highway department. Who else did I call? 3 or 4 people. Guess what? They can't do nothing. I said, well, they said, what's your problem? I said, it don't meet specs. It's rougher than a cob. You know, this kid tore his oil pan off. Well, there's nothing we can do. I said, you better fix the damn thing. You know, somebody's gonna get killed there. We've had 3 or 4 accidents that people had serious wrecks there in the past. Not from that, but from the trains. And the railroad wouldn't do nothing. So you know what the bottom line was? I even called Washington. Guess what they said? Talk to the feds. End of the line. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ed. Tyrell, your opinion on the state and federal funding to promote economic growth?
Yes. So, again, it's necessary to find the money where it's at. So having a good relationship with our legislators at the state level, having a presence at the state level, being aware of the programs that we have. Currently, I just learned about this one the other day when I was visiting a small community, but there's the SPUR program with the state DEQ. It's more geared towards economic development, and so they actually have folks that are working at a state agency that have access to federal funds where they can come and look at your community and try to find areas of where they can help with the community economic development. So again, it's the communication, right? Being able to go and have a relationship with our legislators or the staffers, and then talking to people, and other entities too, like the Wyoming Business Council. We've done some work with them since I've been on the council. So just having the knowledge of the different programs that are available and being able to utilize those. So yes, on whatever funds we can get, we don't have a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, Tyra.
So, in the last 6 years, I learned a lot about the difference between state and federal funds, and I'm not a big fan of federal funds for many reasons. They do more dictating than anything. So if we can find everything in our state funding and grants that way first and educate ourselves as much as possible with the state funds, and in worst case scenario, do our homework on those federal funds. There's a big difference in stipulations and rules and guidelines between the two. I favor state funds more than federal, but with the way that our community is, our infrastructure is, we may have to resort to some of the federal funds that are out there, just because of the decades of neglect.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is pretty specific, and there's two that are similar, so I'm going to combine them. I don't want to complicate it, but in a recent meeting, the question was asked if you think the city police department should be dissolved. What is your stance on this, and would you vote to dissolve the Newcastle City Police Department? And the other part of that question is, what is your opinion on the current funding for local police department? So if we can just kind of combine all of that, I appreciate it. Pam, do you want to go ahead and start?
I absolutely do not believe in dissolving our police department. We have so much that's happening in our town that people are not aware of. A lot of it is very serious crimes, which, you know, are very sickening, but it's happening in our small town. Our calls for service are double, maybe even triple sometimes compared to what the sheriff's department does. We have city ordinances, and our officers, you know, unfortunately have to take a step back to deal with the other issues that are happening in our community. So just with the knowledge that most of us have of what's going on in our police department, it would be a huge mistake. The budget they get, if you look everywhere else, that budget compared to most other places is pennies for what they need and what they do. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line for us. Even the sheriff's department's budget is probably not even enough. And we're in a scary time. And there's a lot of things happening that are traveling through our town, not just in our town. So that law enforcement presence is definitely something that is needed.
Thank you, ma'am.
So this one got kind of sticky with the council, and I called for a town hall so that we could talk about this with the public. I had a lot of my constituents that were coming to me telling me that they thought that it would be a good solution to move to county policing. So I did some research. There's someone in attendance tonight that pointed out that maybe the amount of research that I did wasn't on par. But I like to talk to people, so I talked to Sublette County, and they've been doing it since the 80s. But also in attendance tonight is my father, and he was the chief of police in this town for 8 years. I had a very personal relationship with our police department. But since I've been on the council, there was what I felt to be some mishandling of how the police department was taken care of. There was a time when we didn't even have a law enforcement professional that was in charge of our police department in our community. We went through the whole hiring process. It took some time, but I believe our new chief is getting things back on track. So I can't say that I wanted to dissolve our police department. What I wanted to do was some research and determine if we could save money on our $1.5 million line item on our budget, and if we could make a relationship with the county where we could save some money. But whether we would be able to do that or not, I didn't get into it enough. There was a roll call at city council. They wanted everybody's position. I chose to go with, I wanted to do more research. I don't necessarily want to dissolve the police department, but I thought that it deserved some more research, but we put it to bed. So that's where I am. I support our police department fully.
Thank you, Tara.
That's a touchy subject, police department. You know, we gotta have them, we need them, and, you know, people have to back up the police better than they have, in my opinion. And, you know, I think right now there's an issue in the paper that said, you know, the kids are down by the Decker Mall or Decker Street store, excuse me. And, you know, I was a kid once too. And, you know, these kids, you gotta work with these kids, you know, and I think you gotta do stuff a little different. I can recall back years ago, a long time ago, 1957 to be exact. I'll go back in time here. The city had we call it the paddy wagon, 57 Ford Ranchero panel, and they parked right in front of where the Pinnacle Bank used to be. And it would sit there, and it had a light on it and a siren about that big, you know, big thing. But anyway, we used to all, some of you people here might be old enough to know that. But anyway, we would watch where that thing was, you know, and then we would do some other things. You know, kids would be kids. So guess what? I had a Chevy 6, a little story here, sideline. Split the manifold on it. And I was pretty good at trying to learn to weld cast iron, and I could do it. But anyway, so the cop stopped me one day, and he says, rev that up. So I revved it up. He said, don't come to town. I lived at Osage then. My family did. I said, okay, I'll come to town and fix it. So I don't know if you know what chore girls are, but they use it to clean skillets. So I drilled a hole in the tailpipe, 6-cylinder Chevy, put a chore girl in it. I gotta hurry. And anyway, the guy says, and it kind of quieted it down. So I went up there to the PD next time he come to town, and he says, Ed, did you fix it? And I said, yeah, I think so. He said, rev it up. I went, you know, nothing. He said, rev it up. And so I revved it up, and it blew out. He said, what was that? And I said, I think it was the stuffing in that muffler, you know, in the store.
Thank you, Ed. I just want to give you guys, I guess, a warning call. Do we have more questions, Carrie? Okay, because I was down to one. We are trying to cap this at 8 o'clock, an hour and a half total time. We're in an hour at this point, so we'll try to shut it down by 8 o'clock. We will have some time for closing statements, just to let you guys know. If required to make cuts in spending, what aspects of the city's budget should be visited first, and what spending should not even be considered for cuts? Ed, do you want to start with that one? Where are we going to make cuts?
Want me to? Anyway, one thing we gotta do is we gotta do something different for the veterans in this town. To me, that's very important. Anyway, that we could, I realize that, you know, I want to throw that out, but cuts in the budget is a tough one. When I was there in the past, the police budget was always, you know, everybody says, oh, you can't spend that kind of money. And I said, well, we got to do something. And I said, we had our own police department, and at that time, people checked on it. The life expectancy when I was in there, the last 4 years as a mayor, they said the police chief's life in the state of Wyoming is 2 years. I don't know if you people knew that. But anyway, so when you got people coming and going, it's hard to do things. But I'll give you another example. We had a police chief come in there one time, and a little short fellow, I can't remember, he was from Texas. And I said, let me ask you, and he was going to whip the town, like some people try to do. I said, let me ask you a question, sir. He said, go ahead. I said, let's say you're uptown on a patrol, and there's a guy coming there, and he's parked wrong. We had parking meters in. And I said, he parked right. I said, what are you gonna do? He said, I'm gonna give him a ticket. I said, welcome to Newcastle. That's wrong. You know, we gotta work with people. You know, you gotta give, you gotta take, and, you know, sometimes you have to bend the rules. I'm sure Pam knows that, and Mr. behind me here, maybe even Mr. Voss. You know, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Tyrell.
Tyrell Owens. Juggling the budget is always a touchy subject. Sometimes it feels pretty impossible. It's always a stressful time of our fiscal year. So I believe this year, the department heads, the police chief, and our public works supervisor are the ones that came together with our clerk treasurer, and they made some concessions on their budget in order for us to zero out. But the budget's always been kind of a contentious issue, and then there's also the point of the money that we move over every year to zero everything out, which is required by law. So trying to find solutions for that. One of the things that was proposed is cutting our service providers in the community. You know, which I'm not a huge fan of, because it only makes up about 2% of our budget. And I believe that all of our service providers are pretty important to our community. Some of those are like, we're standing in the senior center right now. The senior center gets a subsidy from the city so that they can continue to exist, and it also meets their matches for specific grants that they have to put into to function. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of cutting subsidies, but when we have good staff that can make decisions about what they can trim off of their budget, or items that they think are frivolous, then we can make everything balanced. So, yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrell.
Just like Owens said a few minutes ago, this budget was pretty hard because, as everywhere, prices have gone up and a lot of things have broken down. So when it comes to the budgets, our department heads did do a fantastic job working with the city clerk on where they could really cut their budget and look at putting it in the next fiscal year. But, you know, we had those unexpected things, so we don't want to cut our city crew or our police department or even our fire department, because like I already stated, they're not getting enough funds for what is actually needed to do their jobs. You know, old equipment, broken down equipment, things that are definitely life-saving or crucial to getting the jobs done. With the decades of neglect and the things that are definitely in the works of failing, we need to be very careful with where those cuts come from. You know, we have the entities that do receive funds, you know, they have to get a certain percentage from the government, local government, for them to get their state funding. So we have to be careful there too. So that's why I think it's very important that we keep accountable those extra entities on what they're doing with those funds. Because we did, you know, see some that were, it was almost like double dipping, but not purposely. It was just, you know, not educated enough, knowing that those entities are already receiving funds from the city. So that, you know, just educating and knowing what the priorities are could help and save the budget.
Okay, the next question is a little bit more involved. Recently, the Senior Center was asked to reconsider its policy to restrict firearms in the Senior Center. Do you think the carrying of firearms, concealed or open, should be restricted in government buildings? If it comes before the City Council, would you vote to allow the carrying of firearms, whether open or concealed, at Newcastle City Council meetings? And Tom, we'd like you to answer that one as well, please.
I get to talk.
Just for 2 minutes, hurry.
Okay, yes, I would vote to allow people to carry firearms in the city council meeting, and that you know, that's the Second Amendment, and I'm going to stand strong and support the Second Amendment. That's it.
That's it? You're done? Thank you, Tom.
that's kind of a complex issue. I don't know. You know, I had a fellow talk to me one time when I was the mayor about this, you know, firearms in the city council room. And I said, well, I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to be coming out right away. He said, here's the deal, Ed. He said, what if I come with a baseball bat? I said, what do you mean? He said, I can tell you, I just come from a baseball game and carrying a baseball bat. Well, you know, a baseball bat can do some pretty bad damage too. So, you know, you got to look at everything, but, you know, I don't think the city council room should be allowed for firearms, you know. I'm gonna say the police chief, you know, that's his job, but I don't think, you know, I don't think Tom, if he's sitting next to me or whatever, or anybody, you know, I don't think they should be packing, you know. If you want to pack and do it out in the country, we got a lot of country here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
That is a tough one. I mean, Wyoming approved constitutional carry, but then I don't have a clear-cut answer for this right now because, I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, and when you're in having a political discussion or things get heated, there really isn't a place for firearms there, in my opinion. But I also am an advocate for the Second Amendment, and I like to carry concealed and have that peace of mind when I'm traveling across the state for work. So I don't really think that it's necessary. But then, you know, on the national stage, we're talking about arming our teachers as a deterrent for school shootings. So I think with proper training, that could be a deterrent and keep our kids more safe. So, yeah, I really just don't have a clear-cut answer for that right now. If somebody brought it to a council meeting or wanted to talk about it further, maybe we could put our heads together and try to figure it out. But I don't have a clear-cut answer tonight.
Thank you for your honesty, Carol.
Does that one work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the right to carry. You know, I know they say keep church and government separate, but at the church I belong to, we have a security team that carries and they're trained. Guns don't shoot people, people shoot people. So it is a touchy subject. I'm comfortable with people carrying, but that doesn't mean my whole council is comfortable. So it would have to be a council decision, but I don't have a problem.
Thank you, Pam. Somewhat in relation to that subject, it seems that every day more and more of our freedom is being stripped away by unnecessary bureaucratic rules and regulations seemingly being put in place to protect us. Do you agree or disagree with this statement, and how do city ordinances fit into that view? Pam?
City ordinances are, I think, vital for a community. We live in a community that we want to beautify. As one of our council members, that's her strongest view. And ordinances kind of help with that. They help with noise violations, crime, dog noises. I mean, there's so many things, and it helps give individuals in the community the right for that complaint to be taken care of. Hopefully it's taken care of as a neighbor to neighbor versus neighbor calling the police department, because then that causes other issues. But when you're moving to any city, most cities have an ordinances. So when you move to like county or to a non, what's the word I'm looking for? What, Osage. So unincorporated, thank you. It was there, but couldn't get it out. But those areas don't have them. So you have that choice. It's like, do you move into an HOA or do you not? So it's kind of a choice and stuff, things that people should research in, but I believe in having ordinances.
Thank you, ma'am.
Boy, this was a tough one too. So, our forefathers would be opposed to anything that infringes on our constitutional rights, and sometimes I think that ordinances do. But then to have a nice, clean community, we need to have specific ordinances to have some teeth and be able to get our citizens to do the right thing, per se. But if I was to be elected as mayor, I would want to look at our ordinances and try to streamline them. Our poor city attorney would be busy. I want to get rid of some of the ordinances that aren't enforceable or that we don't enforce, or try to reword them so that they're more enforceable. But I want to streamline it a little bit. I feel like we've gotten some ordinances passed since I've been on the council. A lot of the time, you don't get to pick your battles when you come into the council chambers. People come in with problems and they want a solution to it. Sometimes we have to draft ordinances kind of off the cuff, and they go before the committees, and there's some work put in before we adopt an ordinance. And so there's a lot of thought that goes before that. But what we lack sometimes is stakeholder buy-in and buy-in from the community. So sometimes I felt like I was making the right decision at the time because we weren't getting any stakeholder buy-in. We weren't getting any communication. So having people come to the council meetings and let us know what you want to see done, why you want to see done, it's the communication aspect of the job. It's working with the community to try to have ordinances that the community wants to have. And then you have the rule of thirds, like the mayor referenced. A third of the people are in favor, a third of the people are not in favor, and then a third of the people don't have any idea what you're talking about. So anyway, we got to bridge that gap.
Thank you, Tyrone.
Ordinances, I think, being truthful, I think we have too many, and we have a bunch of them that aren't enforced. I'll give you an example. Let's look at the alleys in this town. I've got one house that's right by an alley, so when I mow the front lawn, guess who mows the alley? I mow it. And does anybody else? No. Now, I don't know if that's the fire department's job, the police department's job. It isn't my job. I'm just on my side. But that's one example. But I don't think we have an ordinance that would even touch that. But I might be wrong. I haven't been up there for quite a while, so I'd have to look at all that stuff. But ordinances, every once in a while, you've got to renew them and check them. And when I was the mayor, I told everyone, bring your ordinance book with you. Now, we got people here from the city. Does anybody bring their ordinance book when they come?
We have some at the dais, right behind the dais.
Okay, anyway, maybe, times change, but, I don't know what the ordinance book costs now. I mean, it's like everything else, another expense. We don't want that, but, people should look at some of these ordinances that we've got, and I think we've got to work on some of them that we can maybe get rid of, that's not in use, and that if I'd known you're going to bring that up, I got a couple notes at home on some of this stuff, but I don't have it with me. I got it up here, but, Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Tom?
I think that city councils can definitely get out of line, and they can make mistakes. So look at Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Those people absolutely went crazy and actually did their communities real dirt. And we've got, as an example, somebody started talking about loitering in our council meeting the last time, and it's a headline on the newspaper, loitering. Well, my idea was if you know where a whole group of teenagers are and you can see them, that's probably a good thing. I don't know that we want to pass a bunch of ordinances about loitering, and if it's private property, it's not the city's business anyway. And as the mayor said, and the other councilman, Tyrell knows that there's a bunch of ordinances that we don't enforce, and I think that we can go through, and if one of these people guide us, we'll get rid of a lot of ordinances that we just flat don't need. And I'm all for it.
Thank you, Tom. Just due to time constraints, we're going to have one more question, and we will give everybody 1 minute to have a closing statement before we shut her down tonight. What do you think about the ambulance district, and how do you think we can improve our ambulance services?
Does this one work? Okay. You know, I had a lot of back and forth with our ambulance district. When I first started 6 years ago, I didn't understand why we were funding a privately owned business. But, you know, as things moved on and we got our Campbell County here now, it's very vital in the community that we're in to have an ambulance. You know, it's, we've been working with the ambulance service in regards to possibly, and the commissioners on a resolution looking at an ambulance district, which would help the funding for the ambulance and not so much coming out of the city's budget. So it is very vital that we have an ambulance service, and we got to figure out a way to keep it here. May it be through the hospital district, an ambulance district, or from the funding between the county and the city.
Thank you, Pam.
I was an EMT in our community for 3 months over a summer, and I worked for Roger Hespy at Newcastle Ambulance Service before I went to paramedic school. But I believe that EMS is very essential. Our legislators just passed the ambulance district, a special district in our state. There actually isn't one in existence right now. So I thought it was an excellent collaboration between the city and the county. I got to go and talk to the county commissioners about starting an ambulance district, because that we had a workshop in Upton, and we were talking about the issue of how to fund our ambulance service, which I'm in favor of the subsidy that we provide them, because they're a service provider, and that service is essential to our community. In the workshop, they talked about ideas for getting funding for the ambulance service. So ambulance district was one of the ones that they threw around. So I went and met with the Board of the County Commissioners, and I learned a lot about state statute and how special districts are formed. And one of the county commissioners, I believe it was Ed Wagner, made the motion to start the ambulance district. So I believe that if we they're working on it now, and if it passes, then it'll be up to the citizens in our county to vote as to whether they want to accept the mill levy to fund the ambulance district. But I think it would go a long ways towards helping us with the EMS issues in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
The ambulance is kind of a critical issue to me. You know, I think now we have one ambulance, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, we have one ambulance in town. Two? Two, I'm sorry. Anyway, you know, we gotta have an ambulance, and then when you have an ambulance, you gotta have them people inside, EMTs. And it's my understanding that there's kind of a shortage of that. And you know, it's like anything else anymore that's you gotta have, there's always a shortage of it. And you know, it's something that's real critical, and I think it's very important for the city to really look at all these issues on the ambulance because, let's face it, they're expensive too. I mean, but if you're riding in one, you gotta have it. And, and insurance costs these days are getting kind of out of hand also. And there's nothing I can do about that or the city, I don't think. But, if you got an ambulance and he's not in town, he's out of town, that's a problem. But, in the past, I can't remember, Mr. Warden, I think he had one or two, I can't remember exactly, when he ran the mortuary and that. But anyway, ambulances service has really got to be looked into, my opinion. And, I don't know what we're going to do, but somebody's got to do something different. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Tom, if you want to just start us on closing statements, that would be much appreciated.
I'd like to comment on the EMS, and I'd like you two commissioners to please help get that on the ballot if we can. And I believe in the EMS system, and the reason is that, first of all, we're talking about getting some money that the city could save money on. That would be one way to do it. If we have a countywide EMS system, that taxes its own self, or it raises its own money, and the city can not have to worry about it then. And that would save us a little money. But the difference between Roger Hespe's ambulance service and what we're getting today is just ludicrous. And we need to do something about it, and we need somebody here locally in Weston County that we can handle it. Right now, we're spending a lot of money with Campbell County, and I personally cannot stand the thought. So that's one of my thoughts. Anyway, thank you all for coming. And I see a lot of faces here that we see every time at the Republican Party meetings, and I love you all. And you always get out there and you always do the job. I want you to look around this room and notice that the average age in this room today is probably more than 60 years old. And all of us. I mean, you all had children, you had grandchildren. Start pounding on them to get involved in local civics, get involved in what we're doing here. And please, help them learn how to do something for their communities. Because, when we start going, the baby boomers start going, I don't know who's going to run the show, But I do, every one of you that are under 60, I really thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Boss. Ed, if you'd like to share with us your closing statement, please, sir. We have 1 minute for closing statements.
I want to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to be your mayor. I've done it once, been around the block a time or two, and I think I can do a good job. I would like to demand excellence in anything I do. I'll give you an example. I had a relative that worked in another state, and he worked for a city, okay? So I drove downtown one day, and they're working on a road or something, had a loader there. So when we got back home, I said, you guys get a new loader? No. He said, that loader's 5 years old. He said, you know why it looks so good? I said, no, tell me. He said, when it comes in at night, we wax it, we clean it. Have you seen our equipment cleaned and waxed? No, you will. I'm in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Kiesling.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I would really appreciate your vote for Mayor of Newcastle. I would like to provide more teamwork with the council, more transparency. I have been under the ground in our streets. I've worked on this town like blood, sweat, and tears, running this town quite literally sometimes. And I'd like to continue to serve you guys in the capacity of mayor. And I've been on the council for it'll be 4 years if I'm elected. And I'm ready to step up and be the mayor for the city of Newcastle. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Yes, the platform. I want to work with the Board of the County Commissioners. I want to continue to improve on our infrastructure and roads. And with that, I'll give it to the mayor.
Tyrell Owens.
All right. I want to thank you all for being here. Just because this is over doesn't mean that you can't get a hold of me. I'm usually in 2 places, and that's either the Amherst or the Pizza Barn or City Council, so 3. But I would like to continue the momentum that we have going now. I don't want it to stop. I think we're going in a really great direction, and the council that we have right now is a great council, probably the best I've worked with for a long time. And I just want to keep that momentum going. I think we're finally got some good ideas and good plans, good strategies to make all the improvements for infrastructure, economic development, and the best that we can do, and our due diligence for the community and our taxpayers. So thank you.
Pam Goldsberry. Before we shut it down, and Carrie, please correct me if I get any of this incorrect, we have another forum, candidate forum, coming up tomorrow evening. 6:30 will be start time, but it's going to be at the Newcastle Lodge and Convention Center, and the candidates will be for House District 2 Representative. Alan Slagle will be one of our candidates there tomorrow night. Alan, thanks for coming out tonight. And just want to say thank you from the Weston County Republican Party and all your constituents. We appreciate your time tonight, guys.